We are back with Clint Kelly, our malpractice attorney, this morning on MorningLine 737-7587. You were telling me it's a slower time of the year in general. We're not getting as many calls as sometimes we do, and it's just also you're not as busy this time of year for whatever reason. People on vacation, they're out and about, they're not thinking about these things.
Yeah, I think that's it. And when they get their kids back in school and they get back in full swing in the fall, they have time to think about their problems more, or start mapping out, how am I going to handle this? Right. Some people might think over the summer I'll get better and things will work out, and they don't. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why I believe people tend to be more, they tend to pursue claims with more vigor during the school season than during the summer. The
time of year, and your key word there is time, which may as well hit on this then. And actually, our last caller mentioned statute of limitations.
It was a good thing Scott did, because it's a good discussion. Yeah. In Tennessee, you have 1 year from the date that you discover your injury to bring what's called pre-suit notice, which is in essence a letter that's served by mail to the doctor. If you don't do that within your year, your claim is barred forever.
No matter how much merit it has.
No matter how much merit it has, no matter how badly injured you are, and even if the doctor tells you you're going to get better and you're going to get better, and then you don't, it doesn't matter.
And we've heard that before with people having doctors saying, "Well, let's just wait. We'll see how you feel in 6 months. So let's wait." There's a method to those doctors' madness
come back
sometimes.
to me in a year, after. I'm not kidding. That's been a lot of the stories have been. The doctors will string them along for a year, and then after the 12-month period, come see them. Well, I'm not better. Well, too bad.
Too bad. And then they're like, "Well, I'm going to sue you." No, you're not.
And that's what makes Tennessee different from a lot of other states. A lot of other states have statute of limitations that last 2 years, 3 years. Tennessee is one of the minority states that has 1 year, which is unfortunate because two bad things happen. First of all, there are claims that are brought that may not or should not have been brought because people are worried the year will run out on them. And if it had been 2 years, they might not have brought it anyway because they got better. And the other unfortunate thing is some people have their claims barred altogether because they didn't bring it within a year. If people wanted to change something and do something good for everyone else who's a patient, they would get the legislature to extend that statute of limitations.
Well, what do you think's fair?
2 years.
2 years, okay. And at one time, was it 2 years in the state and they changed it a while back, or has it always been 1 year?
I don't know, Nick. It's always been one ever since I started practicing.
As far as you can remember,
as far as I can remember.
It's been one. All right, so make sure that you take that into account. If you have a suspicion, that's why we do this program every month, and we get different calls to remind you. If you're thinking now, there's no harm in at least calling, right?
Exactly.
Get the consultation, you call Clint's office. We'll have his number up at the end of the show as well. Just to get that, and then if you can at least get on the record that you've discovered it, you have that year.
Right, and it's free, Nick. I mean, that's the thing for people to remember is that the call is free, and the representation in terms of costs is free. The patient pays nothing unless there's a recovery.
Right.
And that's something really important for people to remember if they're concerned about, oh God, how am I going to pay for experts and pay for the lawsuit? Well, you don't have to. That's my job.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he's handled several high-profile cases, ones that became high-profile because I did start. But I mean, there have been a lot. I just thought we'd hit a few of those because it may ring a bell for some people with things that they're potentially dealing with. A lot of these clinics, men's clinics.
Yeah, the sex clinics.
And I imagine some of those sex clinics certainly help. If you listen to sports talk radio or on TV, I'm telling you, and not just sports talk, those ads are constant erectile dysfunctions on a rise. Oh, there I said it. I said, like this taboo thing. Now it's out there, and here's what you can do for it. And I imagine there's a lot of men with problems with this, and they seek it out, looking for a miracle pill. And I suppose it helps some, right? But you're saying there's a lot of cases that come out of these clinics?
Well, I don't know if there's a lot. There are cases that come out. I can't name what clinics they are, but there have been clinics that have staffed with people who are quacks. Okay. Doctors who are burned out, have lost jobs, who can't get hired to do anything else but work at a place like that, because ultimately you have to have a doctor's signature on a prescription. And these people do an evaluation of patients and say, well, you need this drug to create an erection, and the unfortunate consequence of the drug is that the erection may last longer than 4 hours, can last, in a couple of cases know about, lasted 48 hours and caused a middle-aged man to become impotent. I can't speak to what the clinics now are doing, but at that time there was no regulation whatsoever. And they were just writing prescriptions left and right for these people, and the problem is people were getting prescriptions that didn't need them. The medication was also being misused because the patients weren't adequately taught on how to use them, and a couple of men became impotent.
Some awful results. So what would you say then if someone truly is seeking that? what's the best way to find legitimate help? As I said, I'm sure there's some good clinics out there. What do you think?
It's real simple. Go to your urologist.
Go to a urologist.
Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing, and they know how to treat complications.
Okay, so like a urologist at an established hospital somewhere, or have your primary care doctor refer you to a urologist.
One of the experts in the case was Dr. Doug Milam at Vanderbilt, who's been a urologist there for years, one of the best urologists in Tennessee. If you got a problem with that, go to him. Go to that. Don't go to some chop shop, that advertise on the radio. I'm not speaking to every one of them, but there's some of them out there that have bad reputations. Go in there and get seen by a doctor who doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, just to sign a signature. So
who doesn't have one? Doesn't have anything. Hadn't had a urology patient since they were resident in medical school doing a rotation.
Unbelievable. But they can be in that. That just tells you. And you're talking about your body here. And gosh, the stories we've done. Some horrible results if you go to the wrong place. You just need to make sure that if you're going to one of these clinics, you check it out beforehand, or you go to a urologist.
Go. In my judgment, you go to a board-certified urologist who knows what he's doing or she's doing.
As far as that one story you mentioned it earlier about the baby who had the surgery. Do you think more and more hospitals still are getting to the point now where, as opposed to having a separate nursery, they're leaving the child in a nursery right next to the mother?
That was the suggestion that was made by one of the healthcare providers who contacted me after he heard the story, was that there's a push nationwide to try to get procedures done to babies in the room with the mother, so that the mother is there to supervise and also to make sure that the treatment that's provided is authorized by the mother. I don't know that that's the case here in Tennessee. That's just what I was told. There's a move afoot to do that, to reduce the risk of procedures being done on babies that are authorized.
That makes sense to me. I mean, we all know the image of all the babies in a nursery and the father's out there waving while the mother's recovering. But having the baby next to the mom, one, she can supervise and ask, well, what are you doing to make sure? I guess one of the arguments is the mother needs rest if the baby's crying, but there's ways around that.
But the dad's there too a lot of times, Nick. I mean, there are other members of the family that can be there if mama's tired to make sure things are done right. It makes some sense to me that you would. I guess because of what I've gone through with my client and what she's gone through, and you know all about it too, Nick, I'm much more sensitive to that than I ever would have been, because I realize what a tender moment that is for a parent to have their baby operated on by mistake. That's just, those first 36, 48 hours when everything's supposed to be joyous, and have something like that happen, it's like a stain or birthmark on that baby. It'll never be taken away.
And that case is still pending. When it does resolve, I'd like to do a follow-up on that. But I guess when I talk about resolving, how often do the cases for you go to trial, and how often do they get settled?
About 3/4 of the time they get resolved without having to go to court.
Okay.
And part of that is because the cases I select. Another part of it is, we work them up to a point where, doctors and hospitals want to get them resolved. They want to get them over and get them behind them and get the patient compensated and move on.
And this all starts with a letter from you?
Correct. A letter from my office giving them notice. We call it pre-suit notice, that they may be sued. A lot of times I've made the decision to sue at that point anyway, but that's the purpose of it, is to allow the doctor 60 days or the hospital 60 days to evaluate the claim.
Meaning now, if you haven't filed the suit and they evaluate it, then would they come to you and say, listen, okay, we see what you've said, can we get together and talk about this before you file?
I've got one case right now where that's happening, where I've extended the time. In other words, I haven't sued because the doctor's company wants time to look at the patient's records to make an evaluation of the claim with the prospect of negotiation. Because basically the doctor told the patient, in essence, I'm responsible for this.
Okay, it happens.
And I don't want to sue the doctor if they want to work something out. I don't want to do that to him. And so we're in the process of negotiating. That's only one time. All the rest of the times, they haven't come to me.
Yeah, they haven't, and then you end up filing, and then negotiations could come after the fact.
Always can, but at that point, the lawsuit's brought. So
it's public record, and it's out there. How often do you think they're concerned about publicity, or just the public notice that a hospital is? I don't know the average public. It's rare. You'll see the media do a story on occasion when there is a, for me, it's got to be something a little different on a malpractice case. And if it ends up on the nightly news, people see it. They're more focused on the patient. I think sometimes if you ask them after the fact what hospital it is, they may not even know.
I think it's a business decision. I don't know what difference it would make if bad publicity surrounds a hospital in the course of their defending the case. What makes sense to me, though, if you're a suburban hospital and you've already got a sketchy reputation in that community, and people see a bad news story about your hospital having provided bad medical care, if you're living in that community, that might be the trigger to say, I'm just going to skip this hospital and drive right up I-24 to Nashville. I'm just going to pass that hospital up, or I'm going to go up 65 and leave that hospital behind me because I'm scared of what might happen there. That's where I think a decision to defend a case to the last breath can cost a hospital some money and hits on their reputation.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider on that. Clint, you are awesome. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you again soon, and keep following this stuff. Like I said, I learn something every time you come on. It's always a good conversation with you. I enjoyed talking with him. Hey, I hope you enjoyed listening. We'll take a break. I'll be back with a programming note right after this. And the time.